Hi everyone, this is Sky. Thank you so much for dropping by my channel to check out this new video format that I'm doing, which is just going to be a comprehensive all signs intuitive messages for March. I'm not sure if I'll do this every month, but the energy has been so strong and so overwhelming and just like hitting me so hard that I had to make a video aside from any of my planned content that I have coming out in March. And so I decided to sit down and do that today. I have some tarot cards coming up here, and mainly some intuitive messages. There is going to be a pick a card spread at the end, which I'll timestamp below. But I took a moment to outline some of the things that I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to kind of use a bit of like a chapter system here because there's quite a few things that have really been hitting me hard as we have this Mercury retrograde in Pisces and Aquarius happening right now as I'm doing this video. And for me as a super psychic, super empathetic person, that has really activated my sixth sense with all of this. So I've gotten a lot of downloads and a lot of really strong realizations. And some of them are personal, but I can really relate them to many other people. And as I've been having readings and talking to many people, I've seen a general theme coming up. So I think that there are some things that I can touch on here that will resonate for everyone. And hopefully we can all come out of this video on the other side of this feeling a little bit more confident and a little bit more tranquil with our experience, because that's really the first thing that I'm feeling so strongly. There's a tranquility here for everybody, like a sense of prosperity, a sense of tranquility, a sense of inner soothing with the Pisces energy. And we're moving toward Pisces season as well at the end of February. Yet there is a strong split and a strong grasping, sort of smothering energy that is also present. You know, we're coming out of Aquarius season. We had the really extremely powerful Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. And I feel that mistakes were made by many people during that time. And now there's sort of an air of conviction or an air of, now we atone for where we went wrong. And the beauty of this sort of Pisces season is we can do a lot of that inside and in our own bubble, basically. And we are sort of working through these old themes of conviction and working through these old themes of fear and shackles as well. It's very much like the devil energy in the tarot. There's a sense of being shackled up to something and a sense of being, in pain and not sure if we're needing to be where we are, yet fearful to make big changes. So it's a difficult place for humanity to be right now for many of us. Not all of us are there. It's not going to resonate for everybody. But we are really tasked with a lot of realization right now and a lot of demand to just see what is behind it all, what's beneath it all, the addictions, the daily needs that are no longer truly needs, that are covering up memories or covering up past crystallized feelings that we don't really know what to do with now. We don't know whether to hold on to, dispose of. How valuable are they? We are really considering the value of our old feelings and our old experiences, and specifically our old memories right now, as I feel that this time, and that Mercury retrograde specifically in Pisces at the more macrocosmic level deals with humanity having a bit of turnover of memory. We are letting go of memories here. We are forgetting some things here. So that is needed and warranted. But with the Mercury energy, and this is one of the reasons why it's traditionally debilitated in Pisces, it needs to sort of parse through everything and it needs to process everything and see everything clearly. But a lot of what Pisces deals with is the unconscious, unseen things. So it's really hard to consciously parse through and work with all of that energy. So March of 2020 is dealing a lot with that. And by the end of the month, we are in new beginning mode, guys. We are in Aries season. We are in the true astrological new year. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done to get us there with any type of sense of stability or optimism about how we're moving forward. So without further ado, everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to dive in. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And for all of you who are watching, be sure to hit that like button as well. Also, this video is brought to you by my patrons on Patreon. It is only because of them that I am having the extra time to make this video today. And this video was available early to them. So if you would like to go and sign up for my Patreon page, I would so appreciate that. You could get videos like this early. And then you can also see all of the March general tarot forecasts as well, as they are currently going up on Patreon right now too. So jump over there and sign up if you haven't already. It's so easy, so quick. I think people get overwhelmed with it, but I mean, it's just like making any other account anywhere else. And thank you so much for those of you who would like to support this cause as well as get some exclusive healing content. Okay, so moving into the outline I've created about the intuitive messages that I've kind of been downloading over the last few weeks. The first thing that's coming up is the general sense of doom and turmoil that is really prolific right now. There's a very like doomsday vibe about it, and I feel that many people are having this kind of weird sense of impending doom. And not to worry, if you're there, like that's not completely it, really. If you've been feeling like a sense of doom, or you've been feeling like, oh my gosh, like everything feels to be closing in on me, to a degree that's psychological, and that's not really all it, because with the Mercury and Pisces energy, there is a bit of like confusion with how we're looking at things. You know, most likely if there's a big sense of doom, it's because there's like too many things you're having to process, and it's almost like a nightmare. You know, we have a nightmare, for example, when there's been too many conscious stressors from too many different directions, and our brain can't quite process it, so it generates that nightmare to purge it off and you know, just kind of drop some of it. And I feel honestly that that's the energy that's coming in for those of us who feel a lot of fear or doom right now. It's more so of a like reaction to try to cleanse it than it is truly doom. And you know, we do have quite a few collective global issues coming up. You know, there's the illnesses going around right now. There are some economic things. Some people are kind of losing what they've been working on for a long time. And while at the same time, there might be a lot of fear about, you know, am I going to get sick? Am I going to lose this source of income? Am I going to, you know, all of these things. It's sort of like worst case scenarios. And this may be the case until around March 20th, really. Well, March 15th, maybe, when this goes direct. But for the duration of the time that Mercury is then in Pisces, that's still going to be in effect just a little bit. And what we kind of see also is any old paranoia, any old fear, any old like thing that we've not faced, like emotional difficulty, or even themes of guilt, or again, personal conviction. That's another one that comes up, like spiritual conviction as well. Like if we're religious and maybe we're feeling like convicted about what we may consider to have been sins of the past. These types of things are really prolific right now, even for more non-religious people, or more for more agnostic people even. There's a kind of a strong sense of conviction, and that is because, again, of that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn merging together with the oncoming Pisces season. These two come together to create martyrdom and also a spiritual sense of conviction. So we are kind of maybe determining our own personal sense of guilt too, and when we go through those cycles, it can make a large sense of doom, because it's like, is my whole entire lifeline threatened? Is my whole entire lifestyle or experience of life threatened? And what I understand about this energy is it's actually there for us to drop some things. It's actually there as almost like a push out of the nest. And I'm getting chills as I'm saying that, because I do really feel that most of us who are dealing with this feeling of turmoil or doom, it is because we've stayed really strong somewhere, and maybe been really strong for a certain amount of people, maybe processed through other people's sensibilities or difficulties for them, and there's not been a lot of room left to process ourselves, so time starts to go by, and maybe there's a bit of focus that's lost on the own individual path and making sure that everything is operating in the right way. So whatever that means to you, I think that if you're struggling with this concept, it's time to make a change. It's time to get more healthy as well, and because I also feel that over the last year of 2019, there may have been some examples that really helped to offset this. So maybe you were really afraid of being punished or afraid of something bad happening. And it's like it didn't even come close to happening in 2019, or it didn't even, like you were afraid that something would happen, or you were afraid of whatever it is, whatever X variable thing you were afraid of in 2019. And it just like didn't even come close to being a truth. Yet there was still a lot of fear around it. This is reemerging here in March, and we are dealing with that. So we are working with our own paranoid minds for sure, which everybody can relate to some degree, because there are a lot of fearful things. And with our connection to media right now, because again, remember, Pisces rules media, and it rules, all of these types of things, and TV, news, media. We see terrible things happening to people all the time, and that affects us psychologically in a way where we're like then fearful, like, oh my gosh, that horrible thing's going to happen to me, that what makes me so different from these people who are in these situations. So I would recommend some detachment from technology and media during especially the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, focusing on what's real, focusing on what is actually there, focusing on what is what's calling you, who are you talking to on the phone as well? Who are you talking to online? Is there like online dating? This could be an issue as well. In March, I wouldn't recommend too much of that. And also, are you still really creating space for people who've really proven themselves to be problematic? Why is that so? Are they as problematic as you think that they are? There's a bit, again, of an incongruency during this time with how we are thinking about people versus the space that we still continue to create for them. So try to make that congruent. If you love people, make space for them and talk to them. If you don't love people, or if you feel that you've been wronged or maligned or something, don't make space and don't talk to them. I feel there's a lot of conflict there. Like, we're making space for the people that we don't feel really comfortable with. And that does make a lot of chaos, okay? So, and this all has to do with, again, this sense of doom and turmoil. It's because there's these incongruencies and there's this chaos about all of these things. And that creates almost like a nightmare in real life. This is all about the Pisces energy. It's very Seven of Cups in the tarot as well. And we have to remember that to a degree, that is not real. We will wake up. We will see reality. Sense of doom, sense of turmoil, that to a degree is not real in any way. And I just want to remind you of that. But we still, of course, need to be paying attention and dealing with any way that that's come into the reality. Because that is sort of what the Pisces energy does, is it can kind of manifest and show those freaky things in real life. And that's what really gets us. And we're like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that happening, and now it's happening. Does that mean that everything that I'm afraid of is going to come true and like manifest outward? So again, yeah, we're working with fear. How scared am I of my own worst fears becoming reality? And then we get into control issues. Can I control my mind? Can I control what I'm manifesting? And then once we're in control issues, we are dealing with comfort, daily comfort. If there's not much there, we're going to develop control issues. Then we're going to see our realities being a little bit freaky. And then we're going to start getting paranoid that all of our fears are going to manifest. And it's a downward spiral from there. So yes, this energy is like a whirlpool, a typhoon, a downward spiral, or an upward spiral as well, ascending really fast. It just depends on how quickly you're willing to follow through for yourself. There's maybe been a lot of denying of the self, or a lot of denying of individuality, and maybe martyrdom, or focus on the future as well. I need to save up all this money, so I'm going to live with people who, maybe aren't so right for me. And while at the same time, like, telling myself that it's not right and not accepting it for what it is. There's a lot of that type of thing. I know that's super complex, everyone, but here we are. And I think that the best thing is to get breaths of fresh air, and at least plan for the end of March, when we go into Aries time, to be having something new in your life to some degree, because you need new things to work on to distract from the mind just being all over the place. And kind of, well, again, when your mind has a lot of idle time, this is so needed sometimes, especially in Pisces time, but in Aries time, you want a little bit less idle time to be like worried about these weird things The next intuitive message that I want to talk about is just that of omens, curses, and psychic attacks. I've been receiving so many comments of people wanting me to do a video specifically on this subject, and maybe I will do that, but it's kind of such a complex subject that I will talk a little bit about it for March, because I do think that a lot of us maybe are truly dealing with that, because again, this is a type of energy where people's like lower vibrational thoughts can manifest easily. So people might really feel that they are like being attacked psychically, or that they're a little bit cursed, or a little bit, something is, pulling them down. Likewise, people can also feel very lucky during this time, very blessed, and like there's a guardian angel type of presence. The key for this time is that there is something that feels outside of you that's almost like affecting your life. So we are, I think, collectively dealing with that. To speak a little bit about, again, feeling cursed or feeling psychically attacked, that during this time is also not completely real, because again, that feeds into that sort of nightmare energy that I was talking about, where we have to kind of convince ourselves that this type of bad feeling within could not be our own. Okay. This has to be the fault of somebody else. This bad feeling within must be somebody else's doing. All right. And I want us to all sit with that for a moment and think about how that narrative can kind of keep us stagnant and kind of keep us in a situation that might really be creating those seeds in the first place. Maybe we're living in a relationship or in a home or in a career that is giving us a lot of turmoil. Okay. A lot of angry feelings perhaps, or a lot of frustration. And then when we feel a sense of, pain, we then think, oh, somebody else is doing this to me. And that narrative stops us from making any of the changes, because we're not making it possible for ourselves to be powerful enough to create these own to create or be behind some of these difficulties without realizing. So it's really important that if we're feeling like, oh, I'm being psychically attacked, really look within and really make positive first that it's not a warning message from within your own psyche saying, I'm not happy where I'm at, I'm not happy with what I'm doing, because that oftentimes is what that feeling comes from. But of course, it is possible to be psychically attacked, and there are people who can do that. But again, it's only as powerful as you make it. Again, somebody who uses their own energy to affect the lives of other people without doing so in the physical, that relies on the victim's own propensity to psychologize things or turn things into bigger deals than they are. For example, like somebody comes into your life and like looks at your stomach. Let's just do a hypothetical. And they won't stop looking at your stomach. And then you start thinking in your mind, oh, have I gained weight? Am I fat? Does that person think that I'm fat? And perhaps that person was a mean person and trying to like maybe psychologically harm you in a way, but also it's relying on your own attention to the things that we can't control in other people, like where they choose to look. So some people who are a little bit more, or I would say a little bit less connected to the fear of other people's, choices, would not even notice it, and therefore the psychic attack would not be, it would not be functional in any way. So this is a time, what I'm learning now, this is a time of strengthening our own mind and becoming more immune to the attacks of other people. It's true, because I do think that we're all pretty vulnerable. And we're living maybe in a society or in a time where we really concentrate and think about these types of small things, like how that person looked at me, or how that person thought about me, or how that person walked by me. Those types of things and those types of mindsets are making us vulnerable to what we might consider an omen or a psychic attack. So really, I want you to detach a little bit from even the thought of psychic attack or even the thought of the power of other people over you this month. And I want you to more so focus on making your own foundations less vulnerable. Because if you think about it, because when you think of psychic attack, you almost want to get out of the thought of that, the fact that it's psychic, and you almost want to think of it more realistically. Like, and you want to protect yourself, you want to envision a force field around you, all of those types of things are good, because if you imagine somebody attacking you in real life, that might be really bad for you, or you might really get hurt if you're weak and if you're vulnerable and if you're alone and if you're completely like not strong, okay? But imagine that you're, much bigger than the other person, or much stronger, or, perhaps you even have a guard around you or something. That's going to be such a small thing that doesn't even faze you. So now is the time where we want to really build up our own defenses and our own foundations, just to make ourselves more immune to it, because it is true. Like, people are so angry right now. There's a really bad collective rage, and this is also in the Pisces archetype. Neptune does deal with collective rage. If you think of the middle of the ocean, like, not coastal, but like really deep in the middle of the ocean, there's horrible storms. The waves are terrible. There are all kinds of like currents and undertows and depths, and it's and even volcanoes down under the ocean. So the Neptune archetype does bring with it, being lost in rage. So people are angry at people that they know for no good reason, and all that we can do is be loving to some degree and build up our own fortitude, okay? And have a strong ship to sail those currents on. That is the only thing that we can do. Okay, the next intuitive message, kind of feeding into the last one, just themes of meanness and cruelty. This is another thing I've been seeing a lot of, and I kind of segued into that already by accident. People are being mean, cruel, and angry right now, and that is their own worst enemy. The key is to defy that, and the key is to still be loving and to still be kind in the face of it, while making yourself stronger, okay, while making yourself more formidable, okay? Because it is kind of like hierarchical as well with the Capricorn energy, and we just had a full moon in Leo recently, so there's kind of a degree of like, who's beneath me, who's my subordinate, I'm going to, punish my subordinates, I'm going to, make everybody beneath me, and it's kind of, it does nothing for the person who is in that place, the person who is, electing themselves to be the superior, okay? So we have a superior subordinate type of energy coming in right now, where people just have no bounds, and really, it's not good. It's really horrible for these people that are being so mean and cruel right now. And it really, really brings up some issues during the summer of this year. So again, I just encourage you to be loving and kind in the face of it, because you don't want to step into those measures. You don't want to step into that energy of being the overlord, or of being the cruel, mean person, whipping the servants or whatever. That is never, never rewarded energetically. And let me tell you, the people who are getting away with it right now, because people can get away with it. Again, it's getting lost. Like, these things that people are doing that are bad, it's like getting lost in the current. But it comes back. That's the thing about the water energy, is maybe it floats off into the rapids right now, but it's all circular, and it comes back, and in the smoother waters of this summer, it will really capsize, I feel, and people will really be brought down to a low if they have been lording over others. So this is something so important with this Saturn-Pluto energy, and, having had the full moon in Leo, going through Aquarius time, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, great time to not be the lord of much, or to not be, to hang low. To have a low profile during a Mercury retrograde in Pisces is almost like the biggest blessing. Because the meanness and cruelty energy line is going strong right now, but that won't last long. So anyway, next theme, finding solace. So this is a great thing for the month of March, is the ability to find new solace. So yes, a great time for some of us to move, especially after March 15th when Mercury goes direct. This will be a wonderful time to find a new area to take in, or a new area where you feel safe. So the frustrations or the rage or the fears that have been existing in the current environment, either we need to move away from it, or we need to cleanse and purify it out. So I talk about this quite a lot on my channel and in personal readings about the need, especially over like the last few years, to either change your space or to reinvigorate your space. We need to be seeing our environment differently one way or another. So whether that looks like maybe a vacation or, weekend getaways or renovating, any of those types of things will be good. I don't recommend being involved with that during the Mercury retrograde. So especially like around February 16th to March 15th. You just got to kind of accept your lot during that time to some degree. But afterwards, we want to really be moving on, okay? Because I feel that some of us got really stuck and really disconnected from the changes that we needed to make for a long time. But nonetheless, throughout the entire month of March, there is a solace in it for some people, kind of a cocoon, a chrysalis energy. Again, the Sabian symbol for the degree that Mercury is going retrograde in, its shadow degree, that was a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. So we are like cooked now, basically. We've done what we needed to do in the cocoon, and now it's time to face real life again to a degree, and it's time for perhaps a migration or a time for not just doing the same old once we get to Aries season. So that should be planned, budgeted for, and connected to some degree throughout the retrograde time. I hope we got to be putting our mind toward it a little bit, but at the same time finding solace with what we do have. Maybe there's a new place to go. Maybe just going to the park and sitting for a while, or taking drives. Maybe not with Mercury retrograde, but doing something that is different than what you're used to. Okay, so the last intuitive theme for March I want to talk about is just the idea of like the last straw, finishing things or having a sense of closure. It is the last something. It's either the last call for some people, the last chapter, the ending of a relationship, the ending of just a cycle for most people. For some people, it won't even be anything too real. It's just like, okay, now I'm not ill anymore. It can be so good for some people. And even connecting back to like the sense of omens and curses, like that's not always an omen or a curse. Sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's luck, and it kind of inherently is both. With the Pisces energy, again, it's a sign of duality. So within the blessing, of course, there is the curse. Within the pain, there is the healing, So healing crises during this month are prevalent and prolific, and we just have to kind of be thankful for that. To begin again, we have to end something, and sometimes that takes a conflict, okay? The last straw. We're going to grasp at straws. We're going to find the last straw. We're going to, bring up that thing for the 9 millionth time. We're going to criticize that person about something just because we can see it for what it is, Those types of energies are there. Again, this is the Pisces-Virgo axis that we're dealing with. So there are critiques. There are a lot of people willing to, say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Well, that doesn't look good, and that is a blessing, so that you can start to fix it. I sense that maybe a lot of people are changing their image as well, changing, having an ending of the way that they looked. So a new style, a new look, or a new way of projecting to the world is coming up for many people. Likewise, a new sensibility too. So maybe not having that fear anymore. Maybe that social anxiety dissipates. Maybe that chronic illness dissipates. And then for some of us, we might be feeling it. We might have been healthy for a long time and really forcing ourselves to work harder than we needed to, and here comes a time where that fatigue sets in, or where the blood work needs to be done. It can go either way with Pisces season. One way or another, I would expect a change, and I would expect something to stop lingering or looming, and if we can't do that ourselves, sometimes the universe steps in and does it for us, and that can be hard. Okay, the key is to gain more self-awareness about who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? What needs to continue? And let ourselves have that power and control over our own lives, so that the universe doesn't have to step in and choose for us, because it will do it without a lot of hesitation during this time. And that can be a great blessing too. The universe has our best interests at heart, and it puts us onto our path for a reason and a purpose. And, there is a feeling for some of us that we might have jumped out of purity, or we might have lost innocence, or we might have, again, that feeling of conviction that I talked about early on. There's a sense of like, well, I will never be that person again. And the universe will step in and say, well, you are who you are, and there's going to be a similar thread. And it does really wonderful things to prove us also of our motivations for the past. So there can be a lot of comfort and solace in that again. All right. And then again, another great intuitive message for this time is just seeing the hope of the future, seeing the hope of lifeline, seeing the hope like, okay, my life is in my hands and I can make these choices and I can make things better for myself. I don't have to live in this type of chaos. Because there's almost a countdown. That's what I would call it. There's almost a countdown during this time where it's like, okay, I'm fine right now. I've got this amount of time. I've got this amount of space to just have solace, but it's finite, okay? And there's a ticking clock during the time of this solace as we start to see that we've got to make some changes. So anyway, everyone, on that note, I'm going to go into the pick a card and we will see what is coming up. Okay, so just take a second if you haven't already to meditate on the cards and choose from left to right, either card 1, 2, or 3, and we will see what tarot messages are coming up for you. Okay, if you picked card number 1, you got 6 of Wands. So March is going to be a month of taking back your throne or taking back your identity. 6 of Wands deals with confidence, and it deals with posture and what you choose to, like what part you choose to look, what look you choose to embody, how you project to the world. This is what the month is going to revolve around for you is, what is my image? What am I projecting? Is that anything connected to who I am on the inside? And is there something that I want to be, or what do I want to look like? Do I want to maybe up the sex appeal? Do I want to maybe tone it down? Do I want to change something? Okay, so that could definitely be coming up because again, the 6 in tarot, the number 6 deals with a change or a transition. And again, 6 of Wands deals with how we feel connected to our embodiment. So it's like healing the relationship with your body basically, and making sure that you're wearing comfortable clothing that fits properly. It sounds perhaps shallow, but these types of things can really have an impact on our energy. The way that our clothing fits, the colors that we're wearing, the styles that we have, those things aren't there just for shallow endeavors. Like there is a big connection to our energy's displacement through that. So there might be a change there for some of you coming up in March, because again, March is a changing, transitioning monthly energy. So yeah, you will see that there might be a change if you chose the first card in the appearance. Also, it's a sign that you need to face things with confidence. So don't play it small. Don't go small. Go big or go home with what you're doing. Be that person, be that figure, be that bit larger than life, fiery energy that will do well for you. And also, you might need a procession. You might need people with you. You might need an entourage. It's a sign that also socializing and being around friends this month will bring you more. And maybe making new connections, having new friends that like to go places with you. This is also like a going places energy, so it's not so homebody. It's not so in the cocoon. Again, you're going places. You're having meetings. You're seeing people. You're projecting with people. This is an important thing for you in the month of March. Okay, card number 2. If you chose card number 2, you got 10 of Pentacles. And so I like that for the month of March. It's very compatible. This should be a good month for you. It's basically a month of thinking of your ancestry, really. I feel sometimes 10 of Pentacles has a big money undertone, but I feel that in March, 10 of Pentacles is about connecting with the ancestry or connecting with the people that have preceded us in some way. So even in your workplace, if you've taken a new position or something, talking to the person who last held your position could be great to sort of understand the groundwork. 10 of Pentacles is about understanding the groundwork of a new position that you've been working hard for a long time for. So really look to other people in your field, in your industry, in your type of position, and perhaps establish a network so that you can bypass some of the obstacles that inevitably come to anybody who is just starting something. So you want to really avoid and bypass obstacles. You want to be smart. You want to also be saving and generating wealth. So try to not be spending everything that you make. 10 of Pentacles is always a sign that we want to be holding back and saving for the future to some degree. while at the same time giving ourselves some amount of abundance. So this does indicate a raise or promotion as well in your work, and it's upright. So it's a great sign that if you've been working in the same position for a long time, you might actually be able to really take advantage of the Mercury retrograde energy and get more of a promotion than you expect. I also feel Ten of Pentacles in this particular spread to be really connected to your descendants as well. So again, if you're a parent, it would be a great time to strengthen the relationship with your children. Or if you're not a parent, it's a great time to think about, is parenthood oncoming? Do I want to be a parent? I do think that there's a collective message also about parenthood with a lot of people, and, especially potential parents who are considering having children. That's something that's coming up for most people who are in those areas of life. So do think about it during this time. It might be a good time to conceive, or a good time to even birth a child if you're pregnant, or if you're expecting. This is a good time. So yeah, Ten of Pentacles. Make sure that you have enough emotional energy, enough money, enough. And I think that a lot of people who have chosen this card might actually have enough. Right now, we're actually in a society where nothing is ever enough. So if you chose this card, I really challenge you to think about how it could be enough over this month, and how much you might stand to gain, and what narratives that are toxic you might stand to just wipe clear by really working with the theme of enough. All right, so if you chose card number 3, you got Nine of Wands. And yeah, Nine of Wands, that really makes sense for this time of the year, because that is what we tend to feel as we come to the end of a cycle. So if you chose Nine of Wands, you are putting too much effort into something. Too much energetic resource is going into either the career or the relationship, or whatever it is. That one thing that's dominating your entire life, that has to be pulled back from a little bit, and we have to rethink it. We have to think, okay, how can I get more value for this? How can I pursue other things? Oftentimes with this energy, I see people who are ready to step into a new field, or are ready for a bit of a change. So this is the time. March is a changing, transitional month. It is the breath of fresh air, the cell turnover month. So if you've been wanting to change career, go for it if you can, especially towards the end of March. Yeah, and also for some of you, though, you're almost finished with something. You've almost finished a project, or you've almost finished ascending some type of hierarchy. Follow through with it if you can, and by the end of March, see if you don't like the new position that you have. Again, this energy is kind of like, climbing a huge flight of stairs, and you're just at the last few, but you're like really tired, but you're not quite to the top yet. That's what this energy is. So think of how that applies to your life and what that might be applying to, and think of it if it's not like time to rest and time to pull back just a little bit as well towards the end of the month. And also watch out for holding yourself back too. Nine of Wands can sometimes indicate that we're like creating a gilded cage, or we're kind of trapping ourselves in something. So again, this could look like having the wonderful career that you don't really feel good about, and then leveraging all of your money so that you can't leave the career. And you kind of know in the back of your head that you're doing it that way because you're afraid of your own capacity to give up on something. And then you give yourself a lot of things so that you basically become indebted and contracted to the career. This can also happen with relationships. So think about that. Think about what might need to be sold or downsized or minimized so that you have a bit more freedom. Okay. And that's about it. I think that I will conclude this here, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this March video. I hope that you're all having wonderful March energy, and I will see you guys on the other side for April. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Also, like and comment on this video. Let me know how you're doing in March. And jump over to my Patreon page. Again, this video is brought to you by my patrons on Patreon. So if you would like to go over and sign up, it would really make my day and help me to continue making videos like this in the future. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk soon. Bye.